Hey guys, welcome to episode 83 of The Green Life. Today's episode is really going back to nature, to the relationship we should have with plants. It's such an uplifting story that I want to share with you. I'll be speaking to Luis Alves, who is the founder of Cantinhos das Aromaticas, which is a beautiful company that started really growing and selling the most wonderful herbs, medicinal herbs, and really learning and sharing that teaching with everyone that is willing to listen. Their story is fantastic. They've been in business for a long time. Last year they lost the land they were practicing in, they were growing in, because it was in the center of the city of Porto, more specifically Gaia. And so there's a little bit of politics here, a lot of things that will really make us think and wonder. But the beautiful thing about the story that I found is the support that this company got from the people that didn't want them to go away, that still don't want them to go away. So there is hope for the future. But more importantly, I really want to talk about the wonderful story of Luis, because he's passionate about what he does. And he found his passion when he was 15 years old. He's in his 50s now. So it's a very long time. And I think it's such a privilege to work in something you're passionate about, especially for a very long time. But also finding your passion at that age, so young, and sticking with it for the rest of your life, I think it's beautiful. So we're gonna just dive into the story, dive into a lot of topics that should make us think about our relationship and our connection to nature, what we need to learn, and what it means to use herbs as medicine, and also just to bring back the knowledge that has been robbed from us by the institutions that make money from things that are not from nature, because they can't patent plants unless they do GMO, right? So it's a very interesting conversation. We're gonna dive into all that. But before that, I want to just give a big shout out to Nama Well. They just came out with the C2, which is an amazing combination of their wonderful cold press juicer plus a blender. So it's like Vitamix marries Nama. So I would really say, if you're looking for the machine that does it all, this is probably it. And so I would definitely invest into that if you can. And I have a 10% discount code in the show notes for you. Remember, I don't make money out of this. I'm not an affiliate that way, but we support each other, and I really want you to thrive on a plant-based diet, being able to make different dishes that are fun, healthy. So this is really a machine to invest in. It comes with 10+ year warranty. The team is amazing. The packaging is beautiful. The material is resistant. It's designed beautifully. It's designed in a way that is easy to clean. I mean, it's the perfect appliance. So go into the show notes and check that out. I am, however, an affiliate of Dr. Moore's Herbs. So as you know, I work with them. I work with Dr. Moore's. I learned from him. He's my tutor, he's my mentor. And I really would love for you to support the show by buying your plants, your herbs, from my link. You can get a 5% discount that is only valid once, so use it wisely. Use it the first time around for a big purchase if you're buying a set of detox, for example. And if you need to know more about how to use the herbs and which ones are better for you, talk to me. I'm happy to help. I'm also sharing the link to my retreat here in Portugal, and also my own website for the work that I do. But the retreat is really for you guys if you are practitioners or know any practitioners, yoga teachers, any healers that are looking for a space to host a retreat next year. We have space available, and I would be would love to speak to you. Would be really happy to get you on board and support you, because the whole point of what I've created is to make sure that it's affordable, it's supportive towards the practitioners, so there is really little risk, if any, and we can work together and collaborate to bring healing to anybody that is coming to your retreat. All right, so without further ado, let's dive into this wonderful conversation of our connection to plants, bringing back wisdom of the plants world and the medicinal properties of them with my wonderful guest, Luis. Welcome, Luis. Hi, Luis. Thank you so much for joining me on The Green Life today. Such a pleasure to have you here. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine, thank you.
Wonderful.
Drinking my herbal tea.
Yes, and we're going to talk about herbs a lot, so that's a good one to start with. So if people don't know you, obviously I met you at a conference. It was really interesting to learn about your journey, and actually learn that you were the owner and founder of a company I used to buy a lot of herbs and seeds from, Cantinhos das Aromaticas here in Portugal. And I had no idea that you shut down the operation, but I'd like to learn a little bit more about your background, about your fantastic collaboration, actually work that you did at the foundation, Sir Ralph's Foundation. It's where we met for the conference, as well as understanding a little bit what, your project at Cantinhos das Aromáticas was and why you started it, as well as what's next, because obviously that chapter closed down. So there's a lot to uncover, a lot to unpack. So give me a little bit of a background. How did you get into becoming an expert in plants and working in these beautiful places, including the gardens at Sir Ralph's Foundation?
So I was born 51 years ago in Porto, which is the second city here in Portugal. So I descend from a family of city people. I was born in the city. I was raised in the city. But when I was around 14, 15, my parents decided that I was a little bit different. I really enjoyed nature, plants, and animals. So have some conversations with a psychologist, and he gave me orientation for my future studies. So he said at the time that I should go to a farming school, and which I did. And my parents supported me. So I between the 10th and the 12th degree here in Portugal in our studies, I was an internal student of one of the most fantastic farming schools of the country, which is in the north, in Santo Tirso. Then I went 5 more years to the University of Trás-os-Montes, which is a lovely university to learn agronomic engineering. So at the time I was finishing my studies, I was completely in love with aromatic and medicinal plants. Since I was very, very young, I was really in love with when I met country people. They forge these kind of plants. They use them for hundreds of years, and they know for each one of these where they how to prepare, they should use them. So it was really interesting for me to see this old culture that was not written, that was transmitted mouth to mouth during centuries. And I wanted to learn more, mainly what science has done with these kind of plants, because my formation is scientific. So I found Sir Alves in Porto, which was right next to my house. I live pretty close, but I've never been there. At the time in 1996, when I met Sir Alves, there was no contemporary art museum. And in the place where the museum is today, there was a very big and very lovely vegetable garden. And they had one of the most interesting collection of herbs here in Portugal. So I proposed to do my final work at the university there, and they accepted me. So I was so in love with that place because it's probably one of the most beautiful gardens here in Portugal, that I proposed myself to work there. So I believe I waited 2 years, almost 2 years. I did like Bart Simpson. I want to work there. I want to work there. I want to work there. And during 2 years, they were saying to me, no, 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 no. And after 2 years, I almost lost my hope to become a gardener there. And they called me and they said, we need a head gardener. Do you want to be our head gardener? And I stayed for 6 months. I stayed for 6 years. So it was really a nice period because it was during the Porto European Capital of Culture, which was in 2001. So I started working formally there in 97, and I stayed there till 2002. Time that I choose to leave and to found my own company, because I had so I was kind of the gardener of the king in Sir Ralph's, because I met for me it was an experience with much more than managing trees and shrubs and plants. I met people completely different from me, from the contemporary arts, people from all around the world. So it was really opening my mind. And but I decided that I want to cultivate with my own hands. So I stopped my experience in Alves, and I decided to rent a very big farm south from Porto in Vila Nova de Gaia, right next the other side of the river, Douro River. Curiously, in a farm when the Portuguese king Pedro I and Inês de Castro lived in the 14th century, and they belong to the history of Portugal because they lived a wonderful story of love, and they lived there for 2 or 3 years. So we rented a part of that farm, and I decided that I would found the first uh, herb nursery. So the first nursery dedicated to propagate only herbs, which it was at the time in 2002 in Portugal. So I had a collection of more than 200 species from all around the world. At that time in Portugal, you would find in nurseries no more than lavender, rosemary, laurel, and not more than this. So all the culture of herbs, all the species, they were lost because after the war, most of us, we adapted very well to the new pharmacology, the new health protocols, and we forgot completely how to use these kind of plants. But I decided to recover all the knowledge that was behind them. I found that there is much more scientific knowledge today, not only in Portugal, but all around the world about these plants, mainly in pharmaceutical universities. I think it's like this that you say. So I decided to start propagating them and selling them in pots to other nurseries in Portugal. So we started in 2002, and 21 years later, the business became much more complex because then we decided to open the farm to the public, which was probably one of the most intelligent things that we did because we are doing organic farming in the middle of one of the most populated cities in Portugal. So after Lisbon and Porto and Amadora Sintra, Vila Nova de Gaia has the largest population in Portugal. It has more than 300,000 inhabitants. It's really a large municipality. So we are right in the middle of this, producing organic herbs. We did it for 7 consecutive years. We produced them outside to export to the Provence. So we produce them to cut and dry and then sell them as a pharmaceutical or cosmetic ingredient, always dry. So first we did the herbs in pots, then we produced them to dry and export to France, to Provence. We also open the farm to the public, and we allow during all this time that thousands of people from Portugal and from abroad to come and visit us, which was really intelligent thing because well, we take the risk of letting people walking around, but then we open a shop and then so we could sell directly, which is a kind of a dream for a small farmer. If you can sell directly to your customers. Then we started in 2007 the first online shop in Portugal to sell live plants, which we did till the last day. So we send herbs in pots all over the country. And we started also selling to supermarkets, organic supermarkets in Portugal, and we even exported our own brand. Since we started it in 2014, we started our own brand of organic herbal teas, seasonings, and tisanes, and we started selling them also here in national market and also even to the United States because we made the FDA. We made all kinds of certifications. So in the end, our company had 10 people working. We received thousands of visits from all around the world. We were involved in more than 100 investigation and development projects in our area. I never lost trace to the academy. So I want to know, even today with 51 years, I want to know more and more and more about these plants. I think we just know a little bit of what the plants has to give to us. mainly as medicine, but
Mm.
also as seasons for the culture of pleasure of eating.
Yeah, wow. Thank you so much. This was such a nice story, and I could actually envision everything you've been through. In a way, I have a very visual memory, but I could actually see your journey. And one of the things that really stood out for me is obviously your fascination with learning about these beautiful herbs as medicine. And I think, and obviously this podcast is focused on food as medicine, and that encompasses herbs as well. And I truly believe that as much as pharmaceuticals are trying to, or are derived by plants, I think, because I'm starting to becoming a naturopathic doctor as well, for me the plants are the medicine. And of course sometimes you do need drugs that are a little bit stronger and more like quicker effective, but I really believe that implementing this kind of medicine in our life and knowing how to use it is really important. So what stood up to me through your story is how there was no knowledge, and it's coming along. People are learning about it more and more, but it's true that a lot of the knowledge that is connected to the use of plants as medicine has kind of been lost a little bit. And that's probably to do with a lot of regulatory changes that happened with the Flaxner report at the beginning of the 1900s, where before 1910 everyone was using herbs as medicine. Then of course the Rockefellers had a lot to do with implementing pharmaceuticals, so taking away from the very rural knowledge and ground knowledge of, well, how do we work with plants, how do we live with plants, how do we grow them. So when you went to talk to these people that still use the plants, that still grew them, what was their what was your first thought? And I believe you also wrote a book. So I wonder if you put a lot of the knowledge that you learned from the local people into these books so that us, the public, can actually learn from your experience.
Okay, so my main work with these kind of plants, it was in my area of knowledge. So as an agronomic engineer, first I tried to have as many species as I could, not only from Portugal, and some of them are even in the red list of threatened species. Some of
Mm.
them are unique, only exist here in the Iberian Peninsula, like for example, Thymus masticina, which is an endemic species from here. It's the biggest of times, and it only exists in Portugal and Spain, and it's very well studied by the Pharmaceutical University of Coimbra, which has a lot of papers peer-reviewed published about this plant, or Menta cervina, which is another species that only lives here. So I love these kind of plants. I feel like a kid when I have a new species in my hand. I read so many books. I'm a compulsive reader. I investigate during decades about these plants. But in my area of knowledge, which are the species, where they live, can I plant them, and then creating the best conditions to plant the ones we could in our kinds of climate and soil. And so that this is my area of knowledge. Of course, during all this time, we were invited to present our work in several congress. We met other people with other area of knowledge, and we were learning with them also. And we have many papers in which we were co-authors,
Authors, yeah.
yes. So the main concern about the medicinal properties, in my knowledge, it was to guarantee that people can use them with the two premises of the pharmaceutical, with efficiency and in safety. Why? Because with this knowledge lost, uh, you study and become a naturopath or a phytotherapist, or you take the risk of self-medication, which I think is wrong. I know that many people come to us for specific plants. One of them, it was, for example, Hypericum, the
Mm-hmm.
Hypericum perfuratum. This is a classic.
Mm-hmm.
People were taking antidepressives, which was prescribed to them by their conventional doctor, but then they read something about the Hypericum perfuratum and they decided to buy the herb and decided to take it. And then they go to the hospital because they have palpitations,
Yeah.
tachycardia, they can even die. But when the doctor starts interrogating them, what happened? They always say, it must have been the herb that I took. They
Yeah.
never blame themselves because they took the risk, and they suffered from inter medicamentosa interaction.
Yeah.
So my main concern, it was to teach about how to cultivate, how to use, but safely.
Yes.
Always advising people to go to a phytotherapist, to a naturopath therapist, but avoiding themselves the self medication, and also teaching them everything in life. It's one of my favorite lessons of life. Everything in life is a question of doses. So, for example, in our products, we recommend 3 to 5 grams per liter. In that dose, the drug, the dried herb, per liter is safe. So a child or an adult can drink their herbal teas perfectly safely, because the dose of the drug in the herbal tea is not enough for that being a medicament, a medicine. So, but you have 20 to 30 grams per liter, then you have a medicine. So you should take care about it. So weight the drug, the herb, know how to brew your own herbal teas, which is something that in Portugal, 99% of the population doesn't know how to do. Because in one dose it's pleasure, in another dose it can be a medicine, in another dose it can be poisonous to you. So everything is, this is common sense for me.
Yeah.
But for other people, that, well, they tend to self-medicate. And another important thing for me is never to forget, mainly to those conventional doctors that think that those of us working with plants are freak people. To remember them, these plants are with us for hundreds of years.
Thousands of years.
Thousands of years, yes, you're right. Those who predecessed them, they the first doctors, they were also good botanicals. They know a lot of things about plants, and plants are much more present even today than most people would think, or the copies of their molecules. Even today, you have ethnobotanics paid the pharmaceutical companies. They pay millions of dollars to ethnobotanics to go to places with big biodiversity to look for a new plant with a new compost that can make a revolution in the industry, pharmaceutical industry. On the other hand, plants are not present in our lives, in my opinion, as much as they should be, because they can't be patented. When we met, Vandana was talking, more than 70% that of what we eat today, it has a patent. The seeds belong to one of the 4 companies that own them. Strangely, medicinal plants, very few species are patented. They are still the last. This is so romantic. I love to say this. They are the last of the wild plants of the planet. You don't have a patent of a thyme or sage, of a rosemary, of a mint. So they belong to you and me. So the knowledge of even a simple extract like herbal tea or a tincture that you can do at home, it belongs to us all. But that you can make money out of that, or at least you can't make big money like companies usually want to do.
Yeah.
And that's why they tend to talk bad about these kind of plants. But on the other hand, I think people like you and me and many others, well, we are working to bring them to the common knowledge and to teach to other people how to use them with efficiency and with safety.
Yeah, I want to pick up on a couple of things you said, which are so important. The first thing is, I love that you focus on education, and how sometimes, unfortunately, when people feel sick because there is an interaction, because they have decided to take a herb with the medication that perhaps was not the right interaction, not the right amount, like, ipericum and an antidepressant, they blame the plant instead of actually acknowledging that perhaps it's their ignorance that is to blame. Because again, herbs are very, very powerful. And I think that's another thing we forget, because we don't live with them every day. people think that they don't have an impact on our health. And so we completely forgot that they actually are medicines. So we just treat them as if they were aromatics, as in the oregano you put on your pasta, like stuff like that. So instead of actually acknowledging that even oregano, if you do it properly, if you make an extract, if you make an oil, it's super powerful. It's like one of the most powerful, for example, antibiotics. Yes. So people forget that because we don't have a relationship with plants. And I love that because of people like that, unfortunately, the allopathic doctors who are already ignorant about plants would actually blame the plants and would say that that's dangerous, we shouldn't use them. So I want to bring this to the attention of the public, because I think we have to really become aware that this is an agenda. As I mentioned at the beginning, from the 1900s, there's always been an agenda to kind of push away the plants so that we don't have that control and independence by using what nature has given us naturally. So all that knowledge that was transmitted from person to person and belonged to naturopathy has kind of been lost a little bit. And it's coming back now, which I'm very glad about. The second thing is, of course, when we were listening at the conference to Vandana Shiva, I absolutely it really resonated with me what she said, and with you too. And I think one of the most fascinating thing was that she was sitting on a panel of people that actually are really pushing an opposite side of life. And I thought that was the most, ironic thing ever, because just the panel before, they were just talking about biotech as a solution for the future. Then she swoops in and she's like, nature is the future. And this is how we're going to preserve the planet. And absolutely no construction in a lab of any seed or any species can replace what nature is doing. Because ultimately, if we as humans disappeared next year, nature would thrive. So nature can survive. Not so much not so much us, if we don't actually step in line and actually do the right things. So that's so fascinating because, as you said, they don't patent these herbs, these aromatics, these medicine. And so, of course, they don't want them to be part of our daily life as medicine. So, those are things that I think the listeners have to really pick up on. And I think it's fantastic that you bring it up to the attention. So my next question, and I want to segue into, obviously your project was based on those in that ethos of education and bringing awareness and creating a connection and relationship with the people and the plants. And obviously, I don't know, maybe you can share with me why you have to wrap up the company. What happened that made you decide to not go on with Cantinhos das Aromaticas as it stood, and if there is a plan to bring it back in maybe another form or shape?
So, as I told you before, we started the company in 2002 in a land that didn't belong to us. So we rented a part of that farm. It is a lovely farm of 10 hectares, so 100,000 square meters, right in the middle, in the heart of Vila Nova de Gaia, pretty close to the seaside. And we rented 21 years ago 3.5 hectares, in which we had nursery producing herbs and pods, 2.5 hectares of more than 30 species in cultivation. Everything was certified organic by EcoCert, and we also have a kosher certification and global gap certification. So we were completely prepared to produce and sell them safely in every market. But with the increment of tourism and the investment in Portugal, areas like Lisbon or Porto, Vila Nova de Gaia, the square meter to construct is more and more valuable. So our contract rent was finishing now. In a few months, it will be finished. The owner warned us 5 years ago that he wouldn't renew the contract to us. So in 2024, we would have to leave. Well, for the last 5 years, we're trying to leave the farm and take everything that we have, the machinery. We have a large thousands of euros invested there, which we will look for investors to help us live to the countryside, which was our dream, to take our family and our company to the countryside. But we decided to do it, or it happened in the worst context of all, because we had 2 years of pandemic since 2018, and one which is now much more years of war. And that was not the right context to investors think investing in our farm. So a few months before we had to leave, we decided to leave the towel in the ground. We decided, and the last year was also terrible for us because the consumers, our products, have a break in the consuming, because in Portugal, with the inflation, with the costs going up and up and up, products like ours, which are not essentials, went down in the consumption in the supermarkets. So in the beginning of 2023, we decided we should close the project. When we formally announced it in March, we became public. We did it with our social media. Well, it happened one of the most beautiful things of my life. Thousands of people all over the country decided that we shouldn't close, that we were much more than a company. We were public service. And so all the papers noticed that we are closing. We received so many reclamations, also the municipality here. And in less than 24 hours, the mayor of Vila Nova de Gaia, he came public and said, we're not going to allow that that place will be built. You are a very important brand for the city. And we're going to fight. We're going to try to buy the farm and try to let you stay here. But somehow, at least till now, we don't have we don't know nothing about that negotiable process, and we went with a formal insolvency process. We started it, and then in September, the judge said, "You don't have a solution for this, so we really have to close the company." So formally, the company, even we decided to close and send all our employers at home in March. I stay there till September, selling online, trying to save the company. Had hundreds of people wanting to help us. So finally, the investors appeared. We have a lot of investors behind us that want to support that we stay in the place, but we don't have, at least till now, we still have the hope that the municipality and the landowner, they can get to an agreement to let the work of our lives to continue there. Because I would love to leave it to the population. Even if tomorrow me or my wife won't be here, it can continue. It can go even without us here, because it's a city like this, in this contest, in the humanity contest, we deserve to have these kind of projects of farming, organic farming, close to people, because these contribute to knowledge, to health, to happiness, because we had a volunteer program there since 2009, and so many people went through there and could be in touch with nature, with a family of farmers. Probably one of the most beautiful things that we did during all these years. I sent you a video of people dancing in the middle of our flower fields.
Yeah, I saw it.
So we influenced the levels of happiness of many people. That's why they gave us energy back, and they said, "No, you are much more than a sheet of account.
Exactly.
You are public service," and that was really lovely. So we are still waiting. Me and Maria, we are resting for a little bit since September. We are trying to read and to be with our friends and with our children all this time that we weren't, mainly last year, which was a very tough year for us because we were fighting to save this company. Unfortunately, it was not possible, but we still have hope that this work can go on. Our life goes on. I'll be working as a consultant because I have more than 20 years of experience in organic sustainability, and I have this experience being on in the field. So I hope to be pretty close, involved in a project that can manage to join together forests, medicinal herbs, people, and happiness and knowledge, which is really important.
I love that. Okay, so I need to say, a company I think there are two aspects to a company. Obviously, it's the project, your dream, your ethos, and what you bring to it, which belongs to you, and nobody can actually shut that down. And of course, the paperwork is the paperwork. But you know what? If it works out that this land becomes available again, or whatever becomes available, the project is still alive, and you just have to basically start the operation again. So that's the beautiful part of this. The second part that I really loved is how people were so invested in your success and how important you are, that they were really rallying for this not to end and not for you to give up. And I think it's such an important aspect of things, because you mentioned it's not, sales went down. It's not a indispensable cost or investment for people. And that's really down to the fact that people are not knowledgeable about the power of herbs and how these plants should be part of our life, because ultimately our health is our wealth. And I see this in my practice when I coach people. There's a little bit of disconnect because, of course, everybody's used to going to the doctor. The doctor is like, oh, you have high blood pressure, take this pill. And they think the problem is solved, instead of thinking, actually, it's just my symptoms that are subdued, but my problem is still there. How do I heal? They don't really go that deep because doctors don't go that deep. So generally, of course, there are exceptions, and I'm not poo-pooing on all the doctors. There are amazing allopathic doctors out there that really combine the knowledge of ancient tradition, like medical plants, and the new, the drugs. And I respect those doctors. They are more integrative, and those are the future, really. But of course, most of them don't have the time, don't have the will, they don't have the pathway to do it. So they don't. And I think people, follow that. Like, you go to your doctor, is wearing a white coat, so you must know what he's talking about, right? And I think that's the disconnect that we have, unfortunately, in our society. But I think a lot of people, as they displayed in your case, are really invested into this new approach and being completely in love with the fact that actually nature has so many answers for us. So that's a beautiful testament that I saw. And one of the things that I really love is that, people are like, you are a public service, you are in the city where we actually need this. Now, I know there is a chance that maybe your operations might move to the countryside, and that's still beautiful because you're still approachable. One thing about Portugal that is nice, being a small country, countryside and city are quite close. So it's easy to reach out to both and have the best of both worlds. But yeah, I think that's such a powerful testament to that your work had an impact, and again, it doesn't, just because a company is folded on paper, it doesn't mean that the project is dead. So congratulations with that. I think that's actually the biggest success you could wish for, right?
Well, I don't know. I'm very happy with the work we have done. I think all this time, a part of what I did, it was very, how should I say it in English? I'm a lucky person because I'm doing what I really like since I was 15. So how do you call to a person that
you're passionate about it?
What
you're passionate. You're working with your passion.
Yes, but for myself, so I'm not so. I don't know how to define it. I think we were successful because we reached to people, yes. Because I find myself a much richer person, even that we failed now to keep the company, but I'm richer than ever. So, and I still have the will and the joy to try to put all this knowledge, all this experience with much more maturity than ever, which is something that the 50s bring to me, again, to the disposal of people. And so I think I'm more prepared than ever. I'm working now in the power of now. So yesterday, when I was an entrepreneur, I was very worried with the past and always projecting the future. And never, as today, I'm worried with now. So if it was successful, well, okay. But I'm projecting today how I'm going to pick all this information, all this knowledge, all the beauty of the things which I crossed upon in life, and to share them again. I'm kind of exhilarating about this. I really want to do it. Exhilarated. Sorry.
No, perfect.
So that's I don't success is so hard to define for me today. So the good part of the success, I'm a very rich people. I have more knowledge than ever, and still I know so little, but I want to
Yeah.
share it with other people.
I think that's really, I mean, I see success as a display, as really helping others and doing what you're passionate about and being true to your calling and not selling out. I think that's a powerful success marker. We define success in society as monetary, right? So if you have a lot of money in the company, it's profitable, but I don't think that's necessarily what success is all about. I mean, Monsanto is successful financially, but they are destroying the planet. So, how do we define success? I think that's really important to me when I look at your cause and your purpose and your work and how people respond to you. That to me means success. You succeeded in getting people interested in something that belongs to us, which is the connection with nature. That's success, right? So
Yes.
right now, the company might not be operational, but again, as I said, the project belongs to you, not paperwork, and I'm sure that it will revive again. And I think this is probably a lesson for everybody to actually understand. Unfortunately, politics are part of our day to day, and when you have something, even if you have something so valuable, look, the municipality has to deal with this property. Who is interested in making money? So they're like, yeah, but we don't want to have a project that doesn't bring us thousands of millions or of euro when we can sell the property to, developers, not thinking about the impact that actually developing nature and not keeping it as it is can have on the environment. So it really just actually highlights, and if we pay attention to it, it highlights what our societal problems are, which is we don't pay attention to what's really important. And, there's this short-term focus of people that are thinking that money is the future. I mean, when we die, we don't take that stuff with us, right? Cash doesn't come with us to the other side. So it's like, is that really important? But what are we leaving as a legacy to the future? So you are leaving a legacy. So again, if it's in Gaia, that's amazing because actually that city needs it and everybody needs it. And it could be, it's a blueprint to replicate that kind of project everywhere at some point because that's important. But then again, if it doesn't work in Gaia and it goes somewhere else, it's a loss for Gaia, but it really highlights how the societal issues we have, which is people are selling out. So I think it brings really a very interesting conversation into this, and it goes way beyond just the fact that we're talking about plants and medicine. It goes into politics. It goes into the relationship that we have with other humans and our awareness. Like are our leaders really looking to preserve what is ours for the long term, or are they really thinking about what they can put in their pockets? Unfortunately, this is a rhetorical question. We know the answer for the most part, and which is why Vandana Shiva does the work that she does too, right? And just like you guys are activists for nature, for our well-being, for our future, for the planet. We all should be ushers of this planet and look after it and not just think about the bottom line short-term gains. So again, I think it brings a lot of awareness to me, that success, So I have another question for you. Your books, you co-authored a couple of books, and I'd like to learn a little bit more about them and also where we can buy them. And I know you have to go, so I'm not going to keep you too long, but I just would love to know, where can we get these books? What are they about? And,
No, actually, it was only one.
Okay.
It was launched in 2014. The name of the book, it was Erva uma vez, and it was written and prepared by four people: one photographer, one farmer, one lady cook that cooks, and one book designer. And it won a very interesting award. And it was a book that teach how to plant and then how to cook with these herbs. So we teach a lot of things, and it was brilliantly photographed, and also the design was really nice. But unfortunately, it's not being published anymore. At the time, we did only one edition, but it's not being sold anymore. But it was a great success in Fnac. It was on the tops for 4 weeks in a row. So I hope I have the time to write to write one or more books in the future, because I would like to publish something about plants. But this time of my life, I'm dedicating to study again.
Mm-hmm.
I want to know more and more and more, because I'm studying other fields of knowledge that are now also emerging on plants, that relate energy and plants. Finally,
Yeah.
you have people like Monica Gagliano and other people that are studying plants and relating the energy and how this is important also for us. I
Mm-hmm.
want to know much more about that.
Yeah,
So
amazing. Oh, well, I'm sorry about the book. I mean, I would have loved to have it, as part of my reading list. And I don't know if it was ever translated in anything but Portuguese or just Portuguese, but
no, just
just
Portuguese.
Portuguese. Okay, so it would have been limited to my Portuguese listeners or people that are bilingual. But um, it's definitely the kind of books we need. I mean, again, I'm really appreciative of the fact that this is knowledge that is coming out, and there are so many herbalists and so many foragers that are coming out with this knowledge and sharing. This is a beautiful part of the time that we're in. But I really hope that you do, in fact, share your knowledge in writing as well at some point. And I can completely relate to going back to studying. I'm an eternal student as well. I'm always studying. People are like, you should just be an academic. Because I'm just like, I just want to soak in the knowledge, and there's so much to know. Like, even when I look at herbs, I'm like, oh my God, I mean, I know so little. And
Yeah.
I'm just like, wow, I'm in awe of what knowledge is there, and how the uses of the things that are in nature we can bring into our life. So I share that passion. I'm really grateful for you. I'm really happy that we cross paths, and I really hope that Cantinhos das Aromaticas. Actually, I don't hope. I know it will see another dawn, and you will bring it forth in whatever shape that it needs to be. And I'm sure you have the support that you need to carry on. So congratulations. To me, you're a success. And thank you so much for sharing with my audience your story, the purpose. Really appreciative of it.
Thank you, Chantal. I
You're
hope to
welcome.
see you soon.
Yes, definitely.
Bye
Take
bye.
care. Bye. Thank you so much, Luis, for being on the show, and thanks everyone for staying on and listening. I hope that you found this story really fascinating. I was captivated by all of it, but also like the things that popped up in me, as you could see from the questions and the sharing. I think it's great food for thought about how we perceive nature, how we work with it. So I really hope that this sparked interest in you and understanding plants better, working with them better. Also understanding that we have to respect the plants because they're very powerful. And so if you are on medication, please talk to your practitioner, especially if they are naturopathic doctors which understand the plants versus an allopathic doctor which might not. Do not just take anything thinking is safe. Plants are powerful. So that's a message that we really need to bring home. Otherwise, we just give a very bad reputation to this wonderful natural medicine, when actually it's just the way that we use it that might not be the right way. So guys, without pushing too much, but if you love this episode, please could you share it and give it a review so we can keep on growing and inviting over amazing speakers to really share their knowledge so we can keep this conversation going about holistic healing. I'll see you next week. Bye.